Creative entrepreneurs, artists, and small business owners like you and me can totally hear and sometimes even believe that lie that what we do doesn't really help solve someone's problem. And when you get like that, it makes it a little hard to figure out what kind of copywriting formula or sales positioning technique to then turn around and sell what you do when it's not exactly food or shelter or water or even a necessity. Well, this video has been highly requested, so by the end of it, you are going to know how to pick out, choose, and then put to work a copywriting formula to help you position your offer, whether it's in an email, a piece of ad copy that you may be writing, or even on a page of your website. This is a little behind the scenes peek at my copywriting process when I'm my own client and I'm writing for my own business, or when I'm servicing a client on a project. I've got some ninja copywriting tips for you in this video, and I'm so excited to get to share them. So hit the like button if you're pumped to, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified of when these videos drop every week, and let's get in. So I've done tons of videos about what copywriting is, why you need it, and hopefully given you a lot of the tools to be able to be your own DIY best copywriter for your small business. Because I definitely believe that you can and you should be the person behind your own messaging for a while in your business. But I know that figuring out what kind of copywriting formula or framework to use and when and where you use it can be confusing. Now, a copywriting formula or a framework is really just a way that's going to tell you what order to position different parts of your sales argument, whether you're writing a services page for that one-on-one thing that you do for your clients, wedding photography, event planning, one-on-one design. Definitely a longer form sales page, we'll use those too. I have linked below 19 different copywriting formulas. This is a pillar blog that I wrote years ago. I still lean on these formulas all the time. But let me back up. Why should I even be talking about this? Well, if we haven't met yet, I'm a conversion copywriter and a brand and launch strategist for creative entrepreneurs. But over the last 4 years I've been in business, my third year in business, I dropped the whole reason that I even got into this world of creative entrepreneurs and left agency and corporate marketing life to get into it. It was a different type of writing completely, calligraphy. So yes, 3 years full time into my business, I took my very last bridal order and switched completely to just doing copywriting services, mostly because that side of the business had really taken off. Financially, it made the most sense to double down, and I was crazy about it, still am. But I tell you that because I started at ground zero when it came to figuring out how to position and sell my artistry. I was putting together a website, an Instagram feed, all the marketing collateral that was required to sell what I did. That is completely a luxury, right? You can get married and not have calligraphy and you'll be just fine. But I needed to sell it anyway. Now we help one-on-one clients and thousands of students figure out how to position and sell their work as well. I love helping students inside my signature program, Copywriting for Creatives, figure out how to organize their message. So today I want to give you a little peek behind the scenes and talk to you about, back to those 19 formulas that I pointed out earlier, how do you choose which one to go where? So number one, the first step is to nail your offer's details. Semi-unrelated, but go with me. Have you ever tried to style or arrange a coffee table before, or a bookshelf, or even just a flat lay? You know how you will try multiple arrangements, you let it sit for a day before you think, you know what, that needs to move right there, or you have to get it just so. Okay, picking a copywriting formula is very, very similar. There's even little rules that you need to follow, or I guess know enough to be dangerous, just like there are in styling. Things like put groupings in odd numbers, that's more pleasing to the eye, or try to have some sort of natural element or plant or green element. But just like styling, we can't get going with the copywriting formula unless we have that stuff, the bones to work with first. So that's where we're going to start. And now you absolutely need, again, things I talk about a lot, your brand message and plenty of research. But one thing you 100% without any doubt need crystal clear offer details. Whatever you're selling, whether it is a one-on-one service, a digital product or download, or even if you're just selling an opt-in or a chance to join your email list, you have to know everything, all the nitty-gritty of what is included in that offer. And I will say this too, I feel like usually when I'm working with clients or students, working on the messaging of the offer does by nature crystallize the offer. It just adds and fleshes it out and makes it really clear, because this is probably the first time that you're really having to drill down and figure out all the intricacies of what are inside this offer. I bring this up first because every copywriting formula in that blog post below and that you're ever going to work with is going to position your offer at the end of it. That's the point of copywriting. So we have to make sure that that offer is clear as a bell first. This is why the offer's unique value proposition, unique selling proposition, or your brand's onlyness factor, like I call it, is so so important. You've got to be able to tell me why you do what you do, the way you do it differently or better than anybody else who may even do or offer the same thing. So here's the behind the scenes part. I typically, when I'm writing any copy that is using some sort of a framework or trying to sell an idea or an offer, I do not start at the top of the page. I'm always going to come down and I write the offer first. I really get clear on that. So I'll probably start, that tends to be the middle of a sales page, the middle of a services page, definitely the end of any kind of ad copy that I'm putting out there. Let me flip the camera around and show you a little bit behind the scenes of what I mean. All right, what I wanted to show you here, this is a sales page created for course, and if you look down, seeing where the cursor is here, I know I've talked about this in a few videos, but I have not, I'm just at this point lawyering up and explaining and arguing why this is a need for someone, and then I'm introducing the product. So do you see everything that comes after here? When I'm going through each chapter, the bullet points for each part that they'll walk away with, this is where I'm talking about getting really, really specific and making sure that you understand exactly what are they going to walk away with. Be specific here. I can't tell you how important that is. Use numbers as much as you can. Really back that up, because they are looking here to see, do I get this somewhere else? Do I already have this? Do I already know this? So you need to get very, very clear when you're talking about your offer in something like this. Number 2, have a great hook. Back when I was in journalism school, Dr. Clemenson would always tell us whenever we would turn in work to him, a story that we'd been working on, an article, a piece, he said it's got to have a hook to hang your hat on. He meant the angle, or that juicy, meaty thing that you can actually grab onto and hang onto throughout the whole piece to give that narrative to it, to really understand both the writer's position on it, but what you're supposed to think about it. So the second step to picking out and using any copywriting framework is going to be to brainstorm and get a really good hook, or 2 or 3 in mind. So before you start to write, think about, what angle do you want to take on this? What angles can you come up with to help somebody that you really want to work with understand how this is going to make their life so much better? Okay, before I get into some tactics here, I tend to be very show and tell oriented. I learn best from examples, so let me show you a few examples of this in the wild so you can start to see what I mean. First up, this is the Prime to Launch sales page. This is a $37 product that I have. I love it so much, and here's the hook. I'm actually pretty proud of it. The hook is, no one cares about your launch unless you give them a reason to. I tried a couple of things. There's a lot of different sales messages on this sales page that you'll see, but this is the strongest one that anytime I did research and testing, people tend to love the most. It's the one that they always brought up that convinced them to go ahead and keep reading, and so thus it is the hook and the headline of this page. Here's another offer. This is my friend and client Jenna Kutcher's program about email marketing, and the hook here is algorithm proof your business. So it's a program designed for a lot of creative entrepreneurs who love the pretty, love Instagram, but what we all need to remember is we don't own those platforms, and anytime an algorithm switch up comes up or the platform goes dark, we need to be able to communicate with our people. Thus, this hook came into life. Okay, but away from digital products, Artifact Uprising is a great piece of messaging to look at if you sell something that is a little more attuned to beauty or legacy, the things I talked about earlier, because they do a great job positioning that. And yes, even if you are selling art or beauty, you're still solving a problem. I know that can be a little bit hard to understand, but be sure to watch this video where I jump into this a little bit more there in myth number 2. There are so many different reasons that people buy things or have a problem or a pain point. Even if you sell a luxury, by luxury I mean a nice to have, or beauty or art, yes, you're still solving a problem. I love this quote from Picasso. He said, "The purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off our souls." Art or beauty, if that's what you do, is an essential part of a life worth living. So your tactic here are to brainstorm through some ways that you can make your hook stronger. A few ideas of how you can do a better job of this are: speak directly, specifically to the solution or to the problem. Give a timeline or let people know when they'll get something. Or you could use a little bit of controversy. I was scrolling through Twitter the other night and screenshotted this from Apple. I loved it. That's a great hook. That's what I mean when I'm talking about some controversy. When you're thinking through hooks, I have all of these prompts that I came up with. This was just me brainstorming, but what I want you to see here, the 2 that I feel like everybody always comes back to are, everybody wants to save time or money, and so I put those at the top, but I want you to remember there's all these other things that people need help with too. So just because you don't solve a traditional problem, or you don't really help people make money or help save them time, you still are doing something that is of value to them. them. I could do a whole video just talking about hooks, but tell me below in the comments, are you starting to understand what I mean a little bit more now that I've explained this hook thing? And if hook to hang your hat on is a weird thing to think about when you're trying to position what you do, think angle. What angle do you want to go with? Before I move on to the third step, one little pro tip for you here. I've gotten to where I always test at least 2 hooks on things or ideas that I'm putting out there. Again, I know I talk about split testing in a lot of different videos, but testing this hook can be super valuable because this is going to be the thing that usually lets people know if they need to even read on or not. Okay, you've got your offer details, you've got that hook or angle, so let's move on to step 3. Step 3 is where you get to play around with different copywriting frameworks. So I grew up studying ballet, so pardon the analogy, but if you've ever seen a professional dancer on stage dancing, it just looks so effortless and free, right? But what we're not seeing are all those hours of her standing at the ballet bar doing those regimented exercises day after day in the same order. But the more a dancer knows those kind of bones, the more free she can look on stage, whether it's classical ballet, modern ballet, jazz, hip hop, whatever. And that is how copywriting formulas work. Even if you're starting with the basics, that problem, agitation, solution type of framework or formula, after you start to understand that, you can really get to experiment and become a little more free. Now, formula isn't going to tell you exactly what to say so much as where to say it. I'll be sure to link below to Paris, which is a copywriting framework I use all the time that I came up with, and Pascal, again, I think I came up with it, but a formula I use all the time when I'm writing email newsletters. Be sure to pin below that blog where I talk about the 19 different frameworks because I come back to those all the time, but let's talk about exactly how to figure out which one of these to use. Okay, I have here pulled up a piece of ad copy that we're running ads to right now, and it is doing great, and don't let ad copy scare you. If you're, like, we can talk about formulas being used in anything, so I'm just using this because it was a concise formula that I could talk through it instead of like scrolling through a really long services page or sales page. I've got all of the copy right here. So what I want you to see is in that link, you'll see all the different formulas. AIDA is a classic. So it's like PAS, problem, agitation, solution, attention, interest, desire, action. So if I'm following the rules that I've laid out in this video and like I really am clear on my offer, so here's the offer here. It's a free checklist of 44 questions your website must answer. There's a link to it, and this is what they get from it. So I'm very clear. I've got that offer nailed down. It is super duper clear. So the next thing that I'm going to come up with, like I told you as well, is that hook to hang your hat on. The hook here that I'm going to go with is this, the idea that especially right now during this global pandemic, we are seeing internet traffic like crazy right now. So this is the hook that I'm going with, and I'm going to try to sell them on that idea. So again, attention, interest, desire, action. AIDA is this formula I'm using. Pin that blog below so you can have these at your reference point. So attention, here's where I'm getting their attention. Clears throat. I'll cut straight to it because you're likely seeing this firsthand. So I've gotten their attention, and I'm going to give them the hook. I'm going to add some interest with all of this data that I'm using to back it up. Okay, so there's my interest. Now I want to start painting the desire, and here it is, which means your website of all things matters like crazy right now. It's more important than ever that your business's digital home be on point and converting. So then I'm going to bring them to the action. Do you see how that AIDA, I had the offer, I had the action I wanted them to take, I had the interest, I had this data already figured out, and then I had the hook already. So all I'm going to do now is that, like I said, the formula tells you how to organize it. So I can try some attention, pull that interest in, paint the desire, all of this stuff, and then give them the action. That is what a formula looks like in the wild. If you like this video and it helped you out, then click the like button and also hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I drop the next one of these videos. Comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions that you may have about this. These are just a few of the behind the scenes things that I'm thinking through as I'm drafting copy both for my business and for clients, like I said. But if you want to dive a little bit deeper and see some of the ways about how I organize messaging in my own business, then be sure to watch the next video I have teed up for you, where I go all into the computer and show you screen shares of how I organize what I call my company guidebook. It's a Trello or Asana board that you can set up in your small business too. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.